On this first day of November, as the Church celebrates All Saints' Day, a quiet, humble man steps away from the Vatican corridors where he has walked for nearly half a century. His name might not be known to most people, but his work has been seen by millions. Francesco Sforza, the Vatican's chief photographer, the man behind so many of the images that have shaped our memory of the popes, has retired after 48 years of service. And today, in this episode of Catholic Snack, we look back at the life of the man who became, quite literally, the eyes of the popes, and, in many ways, the eyes of the people of God. Have you ever looked at a photo of the Pope? A simple gesture, a tender smile, a moment of prayer, and felt that it spoke to you more deeply than words ever could? Behind many of those timeless images stood one man, Francesco Sforza, quiet, steady, invisible, yet essential. He was never the story, but he helped the world see the story of faith unfold. Francesco's journey began in the heart of the Vatican, working at L'Osservatore Romano, the official newspaper of the Holy See. There, he was trained by one of the greats, the legendary photographer Arturo Mari, who documented papal history from Pius XII to Benedict XVI. When Mari retired, the camera passed, not ceremonially, but naturally, into Sforza's hands. And with humility and grace, he carried that mission forward. From Pope Paul VI to John Paul II, from Benedict XVI to Francis, and finally, with Pope Leo XIV, Francesco Sforza stood behind the lens, documenting history as it happened. 5 popes, 1 faithful lens. Wherever the Pope went, Francesco was already there, before the crowd, before the spotlight, discreet, calm, always smiling, always ready. He was that quiet certainty in the background. When you saw him, you knew. The Holy Father was near. It's said that he could anticipate a sacred moment, a heartbeat before it happened. And that's how he captured the beauty of the Church in motion. Think of the photos that defined our times. John Paul II, praying after the assassination attempt, Benedict's quiet gentleness, Francis embracing the poor, washing the feet of prisoners, holding a child close in a refugee camp in Lesbos, smiling with an elderly woman in Panama. Each of those images tells a story of compassion, and each bears the unmistakable gaze of Sforza's camera. He once said, in a rare moment of reflection, "A photographer is an artisan who puts his hands, his eyes, but above all, his heart, into his work." And he meant it. When he and his colleagues gifted a used papal camera to a former homeless man who dreamed of photographing life on the streets, Francesco said, "Those who live on the street know how a single photo can reveal realities that we sometimes do not see or do not want to see." That's who he was, a craftsman of light, a man of communion, a storyteller of hope. Through his lens, the ministry of Peter was not just recorded, it was revealed. His photos were never about grandeur or ceremony, but about closeness, encounter, and mercy. Every shot told us something about faith. The touch, the tear, the embrace, the humanity of the Church made visible. And while his photos reached millions, Francesco himself never sought recognition. He never signed his name. He never looked for headlines. He simply worked, with silence, focus, and joy. As one Vatican official wrote, "Francesco's photos have touched minds and hearts around the world, but without his signature." Over the years, he archived thousands of images every single day. He documented the journeys of popes across continents, the smiles, the sorrows, the prayers, the laughter of children during papal audiences, the tears of the sick who met Christ in the Pope's gaze. To see the Church through Francesco Sforza's work is to understand that beauty and holiness often hide in the smallest gestures. His photographs were not just news. They were a form of witness, a testimony and images of faith alive in the world. And now, as he retires, his legacy passes on to a new generation, to photographers like Simone Risoluti, who will carry that same quiet mission forward. But Francesco's example remains unique. He showed that communication in the Church is not about volume, but about vision. Not about noise, but about depth. As the prefect of the Vatican's Dicastery for Communication wrote in his tribute, "Thank you, Francesco, for showing us that good communication is not the one that makes noise, but the one that sees, even in silence, the meaning of history and the greatness of faith." So today, on this day of his retirement, and on this Feast of All Saints, we join that chorus of gratitude. Thank you, Francesco Sforza. Thank you for every photo that became a prayer, for every smile, every gesture, every holy moment you helped the world to see, for showing us the Church.